What are we doing today? A new verse, I think. The next verse. Okay, read Bismillah.
الرحيم قل إنما علمها عند ربي لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو ثقلت في السماوات والأرض لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة يسألونك كأنها عنها إنما علمها عند الله ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون.
Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Remember we discussed, if you look at this whole surah, it speaks about three things: Tawheed, Risalat, and hereafter. Now, the interesting thing is, remember our religion of Islam, it didn't come with a new religion. All the religions from the time of Adam alayhi salam till Nabi sallallahu, the usul was the same. Yes, we differed in the furu'at, whether it was Adam alayhi salam, which we believe was a prophet, and all the prophets in between, and there was overarching themes. Allah Ta'ala is one, Tawheed, unity of worship, Risalat, Allah Ta'ala sent prophets with messages, equity, justice, accountability in the hereafter, etc. So we were saying that if you look so far in this verse, we discussed two things. We discussed Tawheed, the oneness of Allah Ta'ala. We discussed Risalat, prophethood. And the next thing now we're going to discuss here is with regards to the hereafter. We're going to discuss what? Accountability in the hereafter. So the verse 187 speaks of the third principle, that is the life in the hereafter. The revelation of this verse is related with the following incident reported by Ibn Jarir and Ibn Humayd on the authority of Qatada. So now, if you discuss all the religions, and even if you look at maybe the authentic Torah, which maybe we don't have access to today, the authentic Injil, the Zabur, or all heavenly books, they speak about the same thing. The same, yes, maybe how you pray, etc., how you fast, how you discharge zakat, how much zakat you must give, etc., etc. What we term in Sharia, we call it the furu'at, what we call it, the Aadiel will differ with regards to the furu'at, with the secondary or the tertiary issues. But all the usul are the same. So the verse 163 of the third principle, that is the life in the hereafter. The revelation of this verse is related with the following incident reported by Ibn Jarir and Ibn Humayd on the authority of Qatada. The Quraysh of Makkah one asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by way of mockery as to when the hour of doom was to occur, of which he used to warn them so often. The verse was revealed in response to this question. The Arabic word sa'a signifies a short period without a specific number of minutes of hours, while sa'a refers just like a moment, like even sometimes they ask you, give me this sa'a, just give me a chance, right? There's also one of the meanings. Just give me like a. So the word sa'a signifies a short period of a specific number of minutes or hours. While in our calendar, but in a more technical sense, when we speak about sa'a, we speak about 24 hours, right? Arba'a ashara sa'atan fil yawm, right? While in our calendar, it is a single unit out of 24 units of the night. In Quranic terminology, how it is used for but when we speak in the Quran about sa'a, it's used for the day when all created things will cease to exist, as well as for the day when all the creations are revived and presented before the Lord of all the creations. Right? So that means, like, everybody is in barzakh. The Quran says, وَمِن وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. That after you pass away, you are in a transitory period we can say an intermediary period, and that is the barzakh. And then when فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, when it is blown in the trumpet, you come out of this barzakh, and you will come into what? You will come into the last phase, which is what we say, the end of the journey, right? And this is referred to as the sa'ah, right? So in Quranic terminology, it is used for the day when all created things will cease to exist, as well as for the day when all creation shall be revived and presented before the Lord of all creations. Mursa signifies to, some of the words, meanings of Mursa, it means, signifies to stop or to stay, right? In other words, when is yas'alunaka anis sa'ati? So when will this final hour come? When will it stop? Right? The world will stop. So la yujalli is a derivative of tajalli. Tajalla yatajalla. The Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ جَعَلَهُ دَكًّا. فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ. When Allah Ta'ala appeared, He made manifest. That's why also in Farsi, tajalli faros farmaye, right? So Musa signifies the right. So La Yujalli is a derivative of Tajalli, which means to disclose, open. Baghtatan means suddenly, while the word Hafiyun is used for a scholar or a knowledgeable person. Right, according to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, the word generally used for a person who invests his efforts and employs all his resources to ascertain something. Okay, this word La Yujalliha illa Baghta. Remember the hadith we done that a person would be busy picking up a morsel of food and taking it to his mouth, and before he can put it in his mouth, the trumpet will be blown. Then there's another hadith, a person will be in his well, lep rahe hua honge. He will be plastering the well. What will he be doing? He will be plastering the well, and before he can finish, what will happen? The final trumpet will be sounded. Another hadith also say the cloth merchant would be unwrapping his cloth in front of a prospective customer, convincing him to buy it. And before he can conclude a deal, or before they can wrap up the cloth again, what will happen? The sun, right? That will impact that, right? See the what's the word? That will happen so suddenly, right? So yes, Aluna, لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة, will come to you all of a sudden. Then يسألونك كأنك حفي عنها. They ask you as though you are heavily invested with this thing. They ask you this question as though you are the one that knows. They ask you this question as though you are the one who made the decision. But if you remember in the beginning of Mishkat Sharif, we were at Hadith Jibra'il, remember? When Jibra'il asked Nabi Sallallahu Mata Sa'ah, when is the final hour? He said, Mal mas'ulu anha bi'a'lam min as-sa'il. The person being asked about it is not even more, it's not more knowledge than the person asking. I don't know this also, right? So the essence of the verse, therefore, is that the Quraysh of Makkah should be answered that the exact time of doom is not known and shall never be made known to anyone. It is a divine secret which shall disclose itself by sudden occurrence. It's a divine secret and which happens suddenly, as has been decided by the Quranic phrase, it shall not come upon you but suddenly. Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim have reported on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala that the Holy Prophet said with regards to sudden occurrence of Qiyamah that it has been made a close secret. So this is a secret, right? The wisdom behind it is obviously to make people live their lives peacefully, for which would not have been possible in case the definite time of death was known to them. So if you know that this time here you're going to die, what will happen? You will be uneasy all that time, right? So that was one of the right. The wisdom by God to make people love their life peacefully, which would have not been possible in the case the definite time of death wasn't. Besides, those not believe in doomsday would have made a mockery of it by knowing the remotely long period of its occurrence. The divine wisdom chose to keep it undefined in order to keep people vaguely in fear of its dreadful events, which in fact is an effective measure against crime and corrupt practices. Like if you know this thing is going to happen exactly at this time, so now you will enjoy your life, and just before it comes, now you start preparing. But you don't know when it will happen. You'll be on your toes all the time, right? So by implication, the above verses makes us alive to the fact that once we have come to believe that the day of Qiyamah is inevitably to come, and all created things shall necessarily be presented before the Lord of the creation, and be called to account for all the minor major deeds, and shall be rewarded or punished according to their performance in this world. The knowledge of time and period of the death becomes immaterial. So when you know that, look here, you are going to stand in front of Allah Ta'ala, you are going to answer, then when it is going to happen is immaterial, right? It will not be wise to waste precious time of one's life in futile discussions like the time of the occurrence of doomsday. On the contrary, human reason and wisdom demand that every moment of uncertain period of life is spent carefully in preparing oneself for the great day of judgment. So instead of wasting your energies, investing your energies in trying to work out when is Qiyamah Day, the more prudent thing, the more wise thing is to spend your time preparing for it. On the contrary, human reason and wisdom that every moment of uncertain period of our life is spent right carefully in preparing oneself for the great judgment. This answer to the Quraysh of Makkah made it clear that their question regarding the time of doomsday was a product of the ignorance. The next page of this verse speaks of another conception. يَسْأَلُونَكَ كَأَنَّكَ حَفِيٌّ عَنْهَا. They ask you, Ya Muhammad Sallallahu, as though you are fully aware and acquainted with it. But remember, that was already debunked in the Hadith of Jibreel. They thought that the Holy Prophet somehow had secured knowledge of the exact time of the occurrence of the doomsday and that he was not disclosing it for some purposes. They insisted to him to disclose it to them. The Holy Prophet was asked to answer them in these words, قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. That verily it is knowledge is by Allah Ta'ala. But most people do not know. And it is not necessary for a prophet to know the definite time of the doomsday or certain other matters that are kept a secret by Allah Ta'ala. The lack of knowledge in such matters on the part of a prophet cannot therefore be taken as a proof against his prophethood. So in the fact that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't know exactly once Qiyamah will come, that doesn't mean he was a prophet. Doesn't mean that to be a prophet you must have knowledge of everything. You must have knowledge of everything of the unseen. It is only Allah Ta'ala that has absolute knowledge of the unseen, right? The knowledge of a prophet can never be equal to the all-encompassing knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Prophet, however, was given knowledge of certain specific signs indicating that the doomsday was in proximity. Yes, Allah Ta'ala gave him certain signs like how you done in Mishkat Sharif, etc. You do next year again. He was informed that the Muslim, or he has informed the Muslim Ummah all these signs in explicit terms in his traditions. In one of such traditions, he said that his appearance on the day of Qiyamah, right? In one such tradition, he said that his appearance on the day of Qiyamah was close to other as two fingers in hand. In one riwayat, Nabi Sallam said he made like this. He said, "See, Ana was Sa'atu kahata, Ana Sa'atu, me and Qiyamah is like this." In other words, what he's trying to say is that, look here, Qiyamah cannot come until I do not come. I'm the last prophet. And Qiyamah, the world will not come until the last prophet come, because that's what predicted in all the previous books. This mention of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Torah, in the Injil. In fact, all the prophets, they told their followers, look, the prophet will come. His name Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you come, you have to assist him, etc. That's why Waraqatul Nawfal, what he said, لو كنت حيا, if only I'm alive when your people will repel you, when your people will chase you out, then I will لأنصرك نصرا عزيزا, I will assist you. For all the previous ummats, they were advised, they were appraised with regards to the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Nabi Sallam said, "Ana wasa'atuka hatain." That's why we say. That's why. Remember, we tell you that the major sign of Qiyamah starts with the appearance of the Mahdi, né? And then Nabi Sallam is also one of the signs of the minor signs of Qiyamah. Because as I told you, Qiyamah cannot come until Nabi Sallam does not make his appearance. So the Prophet, right, as for the reports giving the total age of this world as 7,000 years, there are reports borrowed from some Israeli literature in certain Islamic books. They are neither authentic nor do they have any basis in the Quran and Sunnah. There are certain narrations that says that this world will exist for 7,000 years, etc. Yeah, Mufti Saab saying this is not authentic. It's from Israeli riwayat, right? Really, the true knowledge is by Allah Ta'ala, right? Similarly, geophysical, the data of modern knowledge giving the age of this world is millions of years, not confront or contradict any of the Quranic verses of the of any authentic tradition of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu. So even they say sometimes that the world is so many million years. On the contrary, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu addressing the Muslim said in tradition, when compared to the early people, you're like a white thread of hair on the body of a black ox. Remember, some said, look here, you see, if you got a pitch black ox, right, and you got one thread, one fiber of white hair, how little is it one fiber of white hair compared to all the black hair? It is very, very little. It is very, very little. The same thing, you, the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as compared to all the previous Ummah, you are very little. So imagine we are already 1,400 years in this dunya. So for 1,400 years, currently they say the Muslim population will be 2 billion. But that 2 billion to compare to all the other previous ummahs is like one white thread. So you can imagine how big or how long the, the other ummahs were, right? So when compared to the early people, you like a red thread on the head of the body of an ox. This gives us an idea of the enormous age of this world as told by the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hafiz ibn Hasan of Spain, Hafiz ibn Hasan from Andalusia. Remember, there was great ulama there. Hafiz has therefore concluded that the exact age of the world cannot be assessed by one. By inference, it seems physically impossible to do an exact assessment of the age of this universe, because it would give the exact time of the end of the universe, which has been precluded by the above saying that the knowledge of the occurrence of the dunya is not known to anyone but Allah Ta'ala. So to attempt to give the exact age of the dunya, that is out, because as I said, there are many verses that debunks this, and this knowledge is purely by Allah Ta'ala. Thus we'll stop there, we'll continue the Arabic tomorrow. But subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdik, wa nashru wa la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.